Right now, you are carrying pain that nobody fully sees, pain from being ignored, misunderstood, disrespected, taken for granted. You gave your time, your loyalty, your love, your energy, and instead of appreciation, you received distance, coldness, disrespect. Maybe they left when you needed them most, maybe they acted like your presence didn't matter, maybe they made you feel invisible, and now part of you keeps wondering, did they ever truly care? Why was I treated this way? Will they ever realize what they lost? But listen carefully, Jesus is saying, my child. Do not let how they treated you change how you see yourself. Because their behavior does not define your value, their inability to appreciate you does not reduce your worth, and the truth is, one day, they will understand. Jesus says, my child. People often realize value after they lose access to it. Right now, they may not see what they had, they may act careless, prideful, unbothered, but time has a way of revealing truth, and eventually, they will remember how loyal you were, how deeply you cared, how genuine your heart was. They will remember the peace you brought, the support you gave, the love you offered freely, and they will compare it to what they find later. Jesus is saying, my child. What is rare is not easily replaced. But listen carefully, this message is not about revenge, not about hate, not about waiting for someone to suffer. It is about understanding your worth, because while they were failing to value you, you were still valuable. While they were taking you for granted, you were still worthy of respect. Jesus says, my child. Stop waiting for people to confirm your worth. You do not need their apology to heal, you do not need their regret to move forward, you do not need their validation to know your value, because your worth was never dependent on how they treated you. And now, instead of chasing closure, choose peace, choose growth, choose yourself, because the moment you stop trying to prove your value is the moment your healing truly begins. Jesus is saying, my child. Let them realize your value later, but you must recognize it now. If you are ready to stop seeking validation and remember your worth, type Amen and move forward with peace. Now, something begins to change, not necessarily in you, but in them, because time creates distance, and distance creates clarity. Jesus is saying, my child. When your presence is gone, people begin to understand your value. At first, they may have acted unaffected, cold, prideful, like losing you meant nothing, but slowly, reality begins to settle in, because what you gave was rare, and rare things are not easily replaced. Jesus says, my child. Genuine love leaves an impact. One sign they are starting to regret it, they begin checking on you indirectly, watching from a distance, curious about your life, your growth, your happiness, because now, they feel your absence. Another sign, they begin comparing others to you, and realizing, not everyone brings the peace you brought, not everyone cared the way you cared, not everyone was as genuine as you were. Jesus is saying, my child. People understand loyalty after experiencing inconsistency. Another sign, they start remembering the small things. Your kindness, your patience, your support, the things they once overlooked, now become unforgettable, because distance changes perspective, and time reveals truth. Jesus says, my child. What was once taken for granted often becomes deeply missed. But listen carefully, this is important. Do not let their regret pull you backward, do not confuse their loneliness with true change, do not return to what hurt you, just because someone finally noticed your value. Jesus is saying, my child. Remember why you had to let go. Because your healing matters too, your peace matters too, and sometimes, people regret losing you, not because they changed, but because they lost access to someone genuine. So stay aware, stay grounded, and most importantly, continue moving forward, because your future cannot be built by constantly looking back. Jesus says, my child. Let their regret teach them, but let your healing guide you. If you are choosing healing over validation, type Amen and continue forward with peace. Now, time has passed, the emotions are quieter, the distance is real, and slowly, they begin to understand something deeper. They did not just lose a person, they lost someone who truly cared. Jesus is saying, my child. Some people only recognize value after they experience the loss of it. When you were there, your love felt normal to them, your effort felt expected, your loyalty felt guaranteed, and because of that, they stopped appreciating it. But now, they see what life feels like without you, without your support, without your patience, without your genuine heart. Jesus says, my child. What is consistent is often overlooked, until it disappears. And this realization becomes their lesson, not to punish them, but to teach them, to show them what they failed to value, to make them understand the consequences of carelessness, because every person in life teaches something, and sometimes, your absence teaches more than your presence ever could. Jesus is saying, my child. Your departure became the lesson they ignored before. Now they begin to replay memories. Moments they once overlooked, things they once dismissed, and regret quietly grows inside them, because they realize, not everyone would have loved them the way you did, not everyone would have stayed as long as you stayed, not everyone would have given what you gave. Jesus says, my child. Genuine hearts are difficult to replace. But while they are learning this lesson, you must learn yours too. Do not let their regret become your weakness. Do not let nostalgia reopen wounds that already healed, because your journey now is forward, not backward. You are not meant to return to pain simply because someone finally understands your worth. Jesus is saying, my child. Their lesson is not your burden to carry anymore. Your responsibility now is your healing, your peace, your growth, and as you continue forward, you will stop needing anyone to realize your value, because you will already know it yourself. If you are ready to let the past stay in the past and continue healing, type Amen and move forward with strength. Now, something inside you begins to change, not because they came back, not because they apologized, but because you finally stopped carrying the pain, you stopped replaying the past every day, you stopped waiting for closure, you stopped hoping they would suddenly become different, and in that moment, you became free. Jesus is saying, my child. Healing begins when you stop holding on to what hurt you. At first, letting go felt impossible. You thought the memories would always control you, you thought the sadness would never fully leave, but slowly, you started breathing differently, thinking differently, living differently, because now, your energy is no longer trapped in the past. And when that happens, life begins to open again. Jesus says, my child. What waits ahead of you is greater than what you left behind. You begin to notice small changes, your mind feels lighter, your confidence returns, your peace becomes stronger, you laugh more naturally, you sleep more peacefully, you feel more connected to yourself again, and most importantly, you stop blaming yourself, because now you understand. You were not too much. You were not hard to love. You were simply giving your heart to the wrong situation. Jesus is saying, my child. The wrong people will make you question yourself, the right people will remind you of your value. And now, your standards begin to change. You no longer accept confusion as love, you no longer chase people who give the bare minimum, you no longer ignore red flags just to avoid loneliness, because healing has changed you, growth has changed you, pain has taught you. Jesus says, my child. Your past was preparing you for wiser choices. And because you fully let go, you are finally available for something better, better peace, better love, better experiences, better people. If you are ready to fully release the past and welcome a better future, type Amen and continue your healing journey. Now, your life no longer feels heavy the same way. The pain that once controlled your thoughts no longer has power over you. The past that once kept you stuck no longer defines your future, and because you finally let go, something new begins to enter your life. Jesus is saying, "My child." When you release what was hurting you, you create space for what is meant for you. At first, the changes may seem small, quiet, unexpected, but slowly, you begin to notice them everywhere. More peace in your mind, more confidence in yourself, more clarity about what you deserve. Jesus says, "My child." Healing opens the door to better things. And then, new people begin to appear. Not people who confuse you, not people who drain your energy, but people who respect you, value you, support you, people whose presence feels calm, not stressful, safe, not uncertain. Jesus is saying, "My child." The right people will not make you fight for basic love. Because now, you are attracting differently. You are no longer operating from pain, you are operating from self-worth, from healing, from wisdom, and that changes everything around you. You may also notice new opportunities appearing, new beginnings, new confidence, new energy for life again, because once your heart is no longer chained to the past, your future can finally unfold. Jesus says, "My child." Your best chapter begins when you stop looking backward. And one day, you will look at your old pain differently, not with bitterness, not with regret, but with understanding, because you will realize, everything that hurt you, also shaped you, strengthened you, prepared you for what is now entering your life. Jesus is saying, "My child." This new season will feel different, more peaceful, more genuine, more aligned with who you are becoming. If you are ready to welcome new blessings and better people into your life, type Amen and move forward with peace.